All right, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you this is not an audiophile review. I'm also a headphones guy. I don't own nor do I use speakers on either of my desks, so if that's what you're looking for, I don't want to waste your time. What I am going to cover today is how does this card integrate into your machine? Is the sound better than or on par with a similarly priced external sound card or DAC amp option? How does having your audio hookups on the rear of the machine versus your desktop affect the user experience? How does it compare to some higher-end onboard audio? And can it successfully drive some of the more power-hungry headphones out there like the 6XX or the HE4XX? Let's go. This video is brought to you by Bookmark.com. Bookmark's a free website builder where you can create a professional-looking website with hosting in just a couple minutes by answering 7 simple questions. Bookmark's AI engine, Ada, literally builds your website right in front of your face in less than 2 minutes, and you can edit virtually every aspect of the page once it's complete. You can also upgrade to connect your existing domain and create an online store with e-commerce integration. It's awesome. Click the link in the description below or check them out at Bookmark.com. Yo, I'm Brian P. You're watching Bad Seed Tech, and today we're taking a look at the new audio internal sound card from EVGA. For transparency, EVGA did send this card out for review, but as you should know by now, it doesn't affect my review in any way. It takes a lot of stones to release an internal audio card in 2019. EVGA got together with some of the best in the audio business. This card was actually engineered by the guys over at Audio Note UK. It's a ballsy move because as enthusiasts, we've been trained for a long time now to get our audio processing outside of our PC and onto our desktop to mitigate some of the noise that can be caused inside your system. You may agree or disagree with that. I've got external solutions that do a really good job. I've also had Zonar sound cards over the years that do a really good job. It's also a ballsy move because it's not a cheap card. At $249, that puts it in the price tier with some of the other budget audiophile stuff, namely the Mayflower ARC, the Shit Stack, a slew of other external DAC amp options, and it comes in well over Sennheiser's GSX 1000. But these are smart guys, right? They knew this going in, so this thing had better sound amazing. Right off the bat, this thing is loaded with some of the best audio components you can get your hands on. It's way too much to dive into for this video, but I will link the spec sheet in the description. Scanning the list of these components is kind of like listening to John Hammond tell you that they spared no expense. On paper, we've got 32-bit, 384 kilohertz, not only for playback, but for line-in recording as well. For mic-in recording, you get 24 192. On the rear of the card, we've got 3.5 millimeter hookups for line-in and mic-in. You also have a 1/4-inch jack for your headphones, and they do include an adapter in the box in case you didn't get one with your headphones. We've also got an optical out and stereo RCA lineouts with an adapter that will combine these down to single channel. As far as optical out, we're looking at 5.1. Dolby Digital Live and DTS decoding is still being dabbled with for a future driver release, but as of this video, no support for those. There are also no individual analog outputs for 5.1. The mission statement of this card seems to be to deliver the best stereo experience possible, one that transcends gaming and goes all the way up into critical music listening. Install is pretty easy. It just pops in a free PCIe slot. Just be aware that it does require a SATA power connector as well. Running off the default Windows drivers, it will give you access to the 32-bit modes, but I did find the volume on the 6XX to be lacking using just the Windows drivers. Really clear, crisp, detailed, but overall lacking in volume. Moving to EVGA's own drivers, that was immediately rectified. They have a master volume adjustment for the speakers and then a separate section that handles volume control for the headphones. This can drive the 6XX way louder than I would ever use them with no discernible distortion. It had no trouble driving the Hyperman HE4XX either, and these are some hungry boys. I don't have anything more demanding than that in-house right now, but based on the volume overhead I had with these headphones, it should handle bigger headphones, no sweat. Options in the software are going to feel pretty slim in comparison to something like a Creative Labs card. You basically get master volume control, you get headphone amp control with independent levels for left and right ears, so if you have one ear better than the other like I do, this is awesome. And you get EQ. 6 custom presets, and if you're running anything north of 192 kilohertz, it does shelve some of the EQ, so it limits your ability to adjust and really dial in. It does this to preserve latency. Just something to be aware of. I'll usually run it at 192 and lower just to preserve the full use of the EQ. You don't get any kind of canned EQ presets. You don't get 7.1 surround. You don't get like a scout mode or any of the things that you might normally associate with a gaming product. You also get full RGB because 2019, baby. No sick backplate though. File that under missed opportunities. So how does it sound? Crystal clear. Very detailed. Every headphone or headset I plugged into this thing sounds amazing. The 6XX, the 4XX, the M50X, even gaming headsets like the CM751 and GSP 500 sound incredible. Say what you want about the soundstage on the 6XX, I crushed it in gaming with that setup. The clarity and the detail of this card combined with the imaging of that headphone, unbelievable. Sadly, I don't have an HD 5.8X in-house right now. Love this thing for gaming, love it even more for music. The ability to pick out every little detail, like the little finger slides on the guitar strings, the nuances in the vocals, the cymbals often, oh, so nice. This is coming from a guy that already has some pretty decent audio hardware. So wrapping up sound, was noise inside the system an issue for this card? No, not at all. The Realtek I have on this motherboard is pretty decent as far as onboard goes. In terms of noise floor, the new audio walks all over this thing. All right, let's check out this mic in. This is something you're going to be missing on most external DAC amp solutions. This is running directly into the back of the new audio at 24,192. I'm using a Mod Mic 5 for testing here in omnidirectional mode, number one, because it's excellent, and number two, because it's one of the few mics I have that terminates in a 3.5 millimeter connection, even though you'll find that a lot on most gaming headsets. If you are recording from a mic that has an XLR, just be aware you're limited to 3.5 millimeter line in here, so you're going to have to convert that down from your preamp or your mixer board. So now we're on the onboard Realtek mic in. We're going to talk a little bit about op amp rolling because that's something that this card does feature. There's 2 slots if you want to buy additional op amps. From the factory, the ones installed provide like the most neutral sound possible, but you can definitely dive in here and tailor that sound characteristic a little more to your liking. There's also some very specific instructions inside the box about what not to do so you don't blow up your sound card and your headphones. So a few notes on the ergonomics, if you will, of this card. If you have your PC on your desk, reaching an input on the sound card shouldn't be an issue. Even though the cable on the HiFiMan HE4XX was a little short, kind of a stretch, if you have your PC on the floor, this is something you're going to have to take into consideration. One of the best little stealth features of this card is that the front panel header also has access to the headphone amp. Your motherboard might do this, but on both my Z370 board and my X470 board, I can't get access to the amp that's on the onboard unless I plug into the rear jack. I do find myself missing a tactile volume knob like I have on the Mayflower ARC. Some of my gaming headsets have a volume control on the side, but if I'm using headphones, I don't have that. In exchange, you get to reclaim some desk space and mitigate some cable management. And it's less to lug around if you bring your box to LAN events often. And it doesn't hurt that it looks extremely high-end inside your system, even if the need for a SATA cable is kind of a drag. And it should be obvious here too that even if you do have enough PCIe lanes to do SLI and NVMe driver 2 plus this card, the placement's probably going to be choking out the airflow on that second card, if you can even get the second card in there. And I do have to point out that 2 of my favorite gaming features, chat mix and side tone, are not to be found on this card. So some of the questions I know you're gonna want answers to: this or onboard audio? This, like there's no question. This or that flagship internal card that you already own? Can't tell you. If you already have it and you're happy with it, smart money says keep your card. Not sure how much difference there would really be in performance between this and something like a Zonar Essence 2, and I haven't heard the Creative G6, but I'm very familiar with the G5, and this card smokes the G5. This or the GSX 1000? Well, first off, the new audio absolutely owns the GSX 1000, both in audio quality and in power output. The GSX 1000 has all the gaming convenience features, so it's got side tone, chat mix, it's got 7.1 surround audio that actually works, and it's got a hardware interface. But it won't drive high resistance headphones, and in terms of music listening, will not hit anywhere near the level of quality that this card will do. I've also had people buy it recently based on my recommendation and be disappointed with the volume output. So it's certainly not without its merits, but in terms of sound quality and pure power output, new audio. This or the Mayflower ARC? This is the tough one, man. Audio output-wise, quality-wise, they're very similar. The new audio does have more power overall than the Mayflower, and it sounds just a little bit cleaner to me, even if I am splitting hairs. The mic in on the ARC is not my favorite. I'm actually running this at like 95% instead of the 70% that I ran all the other tests on. Even if I take this down to 90%, the difference between 90 and 100 on the ARC's mic in is wild. New audio requires drivers and software. The ARC does not. New audio has swappable op amps. ARC does not. The ARC has an optical in, so it's able to be used with multiple sources. Those are the fairly objective stats. Personally, when it comes to music listening, I'm a bass head. That bass boost DSP on the ARC is magic to me for adding bass back into open back cans that lack bass in a way that I'm not skilled enough to duplicate with the EQ settings on the new audio. My main rig is also packed with hardware, SLI, an NVMe drive, and so many SSDs that I actually had to disconnect one to make room for the new audio. So here I feel like it's going to be more of a personal needs question and less of a superior audio quality question. I guess the biggest real-world test of any new audio device is, does it get you excited enough to want to go back and listen through your music collection again? For that to happen, there has to be something, either tangible and easily articulated or some intangible magic something that's different enough from what you have already. For me, that moment came listening to some old Alkaline Trio where I noticed that with the 6XX, it felt like I was sitting inside the drum set. I could hear all the nuances of the cymbals and where they sat in the soundstage. Then I spent the rest of my morning listening to all of my old favorite songs. For the first time in a very long time, something actually makes me want to add speakers back to my desktop. I think that really says about all that needs to be said. Is it a cheap card? No. Would I buy it? Yeah. I was extremely skeptical about an internal sound card in 2019. I honestly thought they were out of their minds. Instead, I find myself wanting to reconfigure my main rig to be able to accommodate this card full time. If you've invested in your audio already and you're happy with your setup, great. But if you're in that Venn diagram overlap of looking for something more audio-wise and you have the room and the resources available in your main rig, this is definitely worth a look. Big thanks again to EVGA for sending this out. I do have an associates code in the description down below. If you buy direct from EVGA, it'll save you like 10%. I'll also put an Amazon affiliate link down there as well. Either one of those things really helps me out. And that's it for this time. I'm Brian P. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that sub button, and until next time, stay up.